agile software development is a other normal sort of a way to develop software. It's the contrast to plan-driven software development, which is usually a fancy name for waterfall approach. The agile software development is also one of the somewhat misunderstood areas of software engineering. The idea of agile development is that since we always cannot prepare for everything, instead of having an emergency plan for all possible problems, we should have an approach where we can do quick changes and fix things that are broken during the development. Basically, the idea of agile development is to minimize the risk of a project failing by doing small iterations, having constantly some version of the product which can be tested, doing testing and development simultaneously, and actually using customers or anyone paying for the software, be it organization or single user like in mobile games, to have feedback or review loop so that the organization knows that it's going towards the right direction. Additionally, from the management point of view, agile software development also values face-to-face communications and ability to contact people in the organization more than making comprehensive documentation and having sort of data management distribution system available. If there's a problem, you should be able to talk to the people who designed the system directly, not have to rely on going through the documents. And overall, the idea of agile approach is that the progress on software should be the only actual measurement on how the project is advancing or moving, not some documentation. Basically, agile approaches, they had a sort of a renaissance in early 2000 when the Agile Manifesto was published. The manifesto was a document developed by several software engineering researchers and practitioners who decided that they need to shake up the software world from the plan-driven approaches where only documented features were given any value. Basically, agile approaches are as old as waterfall approach. The IBM Software Center was using this sort of an iterative approach at the same time when the waterfall was first introduced. So it's not completely right to say that the Agile Manifesto was the start point of agile approaches or that agile approaches are newer things, but at least at the current state, the agile approach is absolutely more modern approach to software development. The idea that the manifesto wanted to emphasize was that the individuals and interactions are more important than processes and tools. The working software is more important than documentation, and customer collaboration more important than negotiations over details before actually doing something. Also, importantly, responding to changes was seen to be more important than following a predefined plan, since in many business areas, like in games, you can't always decide or have a comprehensive plan for features, or your customers may change their minds, or your competition may release a product which is too similar to yours. Overall, these ideas approach many of the shortcomings of waterfall approach and plan-driven approaches, which are addressed in many presentations. Overall, the agile methods are methods that are constructed purely on agile thinking or agile practices. There's several of them. Extreme programming, which is the one of the first better known approaches, Scrum, which is currently one of the most used or applied approaches to software development, and several other. There's actually, interestingly, the rational unified process can also be said to be somewhat agile simply because it applies iteration and it has several activities in which the plan is defined or the details are added only in the later iterations. So, even though the agile methods here are listed in very clear-cut way that this is agile and this is plan-driven, the truth is that the agile methods, agile practices are used in almost all software organizations. Concepts like pair programming or daily meeting or daily builds are already used everywhere. Additionally, the agile methods are obviously more suited to smaller organizations simply because the amount of people communicating with each other is problematic. If we don't have competent or experienced people, we might need to have the documentation to which fall back to, since if your developers don't have clear idea on their head what they are doing, they need the documentation to help them on their design work. Additionally, there's also suitability models. This more simplified model here tries to illustrate the amount of planning before implementation, going from hackers to extreme programming to many agile methods, milestone risk-driven model, which is something like rational unified process, to a waterfall approach, and finally to the really strongly iron-bound contracts of military and nuclear industry. However, this model here is more truthful to the actual suitability of agile approaches. If your organization doesn't have changes and you have clear people who may not always be experienced in your domain or platform, if you have high criticality, which means that you have to have a quality assurance plan and really detailed approach on work, if you have a large organization, a large amount of people, and your organization is based on order as a, organizational culture, you are on very high, on very strong plan-driven ground. But if you have a large amount of changes, competent people, you can have patches or updates in your product, meaning that you can ship something that needs to be fixed after the launch. You have a relatively small amount of people, meaning that you are able to directly communicate with each stakeholder, and you have an organization which doesn't really focus on having hierarchies and orders, meaning that you are not working in the military, but in something more relaxed, like some form of entertainment business, or, making games is a good example, but almost making any software in any small organization, then your organization would probably use some agile approaches. Or should use some agile approach. But in any case, it's good to remember that agile things are used everywhere. So the agile approach isn't so much, or agile practices aren't a competition to plan-driven models. In many organizations, they supplement and support each other.